Hello everyone. It's a pleasure to see you again in a brand new episode. This time, we will step into a dramatic turning point in the love story of single mother Ly Hoai Ca. As evening falls, the small house of Mrs. Ha is filled with the warm scent of kitchen smoke. Hoai Ca sits quietly on the porch, her hand unconsciously resting on her belly, where a tiny life is growing day by day. Inside her is a battle between happiness and fear. Only Mrs. Ha truly understands, gently placing a hand on her shoulder and softly saying, "My child, there are truths we cannot hide forever. This baby is a blessing, not a burden." Meanwhile, somewhere else, Hùng is still buried in work, unaware that his life is about to change forever. His eyes often wander toward the little house where Hoai Ca lives, yet his thoughts remain tangled. Is his love strong enough to protect her from the storm of public judgment? In today's episode, every small detail will gradually push the story to its climax. The watchful, probing eyes of the neighbors. Hoai Ca's fear as she stands between love and prejudice. The audience's anticipation of the moment when Hùng discovers the truth. This will be the moment that grips your heart, when every word and every tear has the power to change the fate of all three lives. Don't miss the ending, where the answer will be revealed. Will Hùng turn away in anger, or will he open his arms to embrace both Hoai Ca and the little life growing inside her? Stay with us until the end of the video, and don't forget to leave a comment to share your feelings about this stormy yet hopeful journey. After weeks of being tenderly cared for by Mrs. Ha, Hoai Ca's complexion had gradually regained its rosy glow. The constant fatigue that once clung to her was gone, replaced instead by a rare sense of peace within. That morning, the first rays of sunlight filtered through the bamboo leaves at the gate, scattering across the mossy brick yard, evoking in her a feeling that was both familiar and new. She folded a few sets of clothes, gathered some small belongings, and gently bowed to Mrs. Ha. Mrs. Ha held her foster daughter's hand, thin but warm, her eyes filled with both reassurance and lingering worry. In a soft voice, she reminded her, "Remember to take care of yourself, my child. If you ever face difficulties, come back to me. Don't bear everything alone. In this life, having a place to return to is already a blessing." Hoai Ca nodded, her nose tingling with emotion. She squeezed Mrs. Ha's hand tightly before turning away, as if to carve her words deep into her heart. Back at her own little house, everything looked just the same as the day she had left. The old lime walls, the jars of rainwater neatly lined up, the lush gourd trellis stretching skyward. Yet today, it all seemed strangely warm and welcoming. She took a deep breath, letting the scent of grass and earth fill her chest, as though it was giving her new strength. Rolling up her sleeves, she started again with the familiar tasks. In the garden, rows of tender green vegetables waited to be harvested. She carefully cut each leafy bunch, placed them in a basket, and bent down to pick ripe tomatoes that had fallen beneath the vines. Her slender but nimble hands worked swiftly, her lips curling into a faint smile, as if she had finally rediscovered her rhythm of life. The little white rabbits hopping about in their pen added a lively touch to the yard. From time to time, the tiny creatures would lift their shiny black eyes at her, brimming with playful mischief. Hoai Ca couldn't help but laugh, her heart feeling lighter after those long, tense days. In the small kitchen, she carefully arranged baskets for the next morning's market, crimson tomatoes, long curling gourds, and freshly picked beans still glistening with dew. Everything was packed neatly, just as she had done for years. The simple scene brought back a sense of serenity, so different from the fog of despair she had once lived in. Out in the yard, Tony chirped happily as he played. His little bare feet pattered across the cool earth, leaving behind tiny footprints. His clear, ringing laughter echoed, blending with the birdsong in the bamboo canopy, filling the yard with life. Sometimes he would run to hug his mother's leg with his tiny arms, and other times he would plop down to play with the rabbits, calling out "Mommy" in his tender voice, making Hoai Ca's heart swell with joy. She stopped working and watched her son for a long while. In her bright, glistening eyes lay joy, gratitude, and determination. Life might still be full of storms, but as long as she had Tony by her side, this little home as her haven, and the new hope growing inside her belly, she would have the courage to keep moving forward, never again to feel as lonely as before. Late in the afternoon, the road leading to Mrs. Haas's house was bathed in the golden glow of sunset. The last rays of the day slipped through the bamboo grove, scattering patches of light and shadow across the ground. Ha walked slowly along the familiar path, his heart fluttering with both longing and anticipation. As soon as he stepped into the yard, he heard the crackling fire in the kitchen and smelled the aroma of freshly cooked rice filling the little house. Everything felt as warm as ever, except his mother. Her frail figure, silver-streaked hair, sat at the table, her expression more pensive than usual. In what began as casual small talk, Mrs. Ha suddenly paused, her gaze drifting far away as she let out a soft sigh. Her voice was quiet, but heavy. "Ha, there's something I must tell you. Hoai Ca, she's pregnant. But until now, she hasn't had the courage to tell Hung." Ha froze, as if a knife had cut straight through his thoughts. The teacup in his hand stiffened, his fingers tightening so much the rim quivered slightly. He couldn't utter a word, sitting there with a storm raging inside. Questions rushed at him one after another. Why did Hoai Ca keep it a secret? What was she afraid of? If Hung knew, would he break down in pain, or be overwhelmed with joy? Mrs. Ha looked into her son's eyes, her own filled with unspoken plea. "You're her brother in all but blood. You understand her better than anyone. Don't let her carry this burden alone." Ha gave a faint nod, a silent promise. He rose, deciding in that very moment that he must see Hoai Ca. Not just to seek answers, but to let her know she wasn't alone, that there were still people willing to protect her, to face this truth by her side. By the time Ha stepped onto the narrow lane leading to Hoai Ca's house, the sun had nearly set, leaving the sky ablaze with crimson light. The modest yard came into view, wrapped in the warmth of dusk. Under the porch, Hoai Ca was quietly arranging a basket of vegetables, carefully placing bunches of fresh greens and bright red tomatoes inside. Her eyes were focused, yet shadows of worry lingered within them. From time to time, she lifted her head to call Tony, who was chasing the white rabbits across the yard, his innocent laughter echoing, adding to the serene scene. But to Ha, that scene carried a weight of deep sorrow. He saw a fragile woman forcing herself to appear strong, though inside, her heart must have been in turmoil. He stepped closer, his voice low but firm, breaking the stillness of the yard. "You shouldn't hide this from Hung. No matter what, he has the right to know the truth." Hoai Ca froze. The vegetables in her trembling hands slipped, scattering onto the ground, yet she paid no attention. Her head lowered, her voice choked with emotion. I'm afraid. Afraid that if I tell him, he'll worry, lose focus. Hung already has so many responsibilities, I don't want to be his burden." Ha gazed at her for a long time, then took a step forward. His eyes glimmered with resolve, though gentle. He placed a hand on her shoulder, steady and reassuring. "Hoai Ca, you're not fighting this alone. To me, you've always been a sister, family. From now on, I'll protect you as my own. And more importantly, Hung deserves to be by your side. He has the right to be a father, to share in your happiness, to live this truth with you." In that moment, the world seemed to grow still. Only the soft rustle of wind passing through the gourd trellis on the porch, and the distant sound of Tony's carefree laughter, broke the silence. Hoai Ca bit her lip, her eyes glistening, tears threatening to fall though she held them back. Deep down, she knew she couldn't keep running forever. Sooner or later, the truth had to be spoken, for Hùng, for the child, and for her own heart. The next morning, as sunlight filtered through the leaves and cast golden streaks across Hoai Ca's courtyard, Ha arrived. From afar, he saw her small figure bent over on the porch. On the old brick floor, she was carefully tying wicker baskets, then turning back to tend to the white rabbits she planned to take to the market. The chubby creatures, with their snow-white fur and twitching pink ears, scratched at the sides of their cages or hopped restlessly, making the baskets shake and adding to the difficulty of her work. Ha frowned and hurried forward. He grasped the handle of one basket, his voice tinged with reproach yet filled with concern. "You're pregnant, how can you carry all this yourself? Leave the heavy work to me." Hoai Ca looked momentarily flustered, forcing a faint smile. "I'm used to it, it's nothing. Besides, if I don't sell these rabbits, I won't have room to raise more." Seeing her stubborn but frail figure made Ha's heart ache. He said nothing further, just gently took the heavy basket from her hands. His movements were firm yet warm, his gaze serious but full of care. "From now on, if there's hard work, call me. I won't let you shoulder everything alone." Hoai Ca lowered her head, lips pressed tight, but her eyes trembled faintly. It had been so long since she felt this protected. The dirt road to the market that morning was alive with birdsong and scented with the fragrance of ripening rice fields. Ha walked ahead, carrying 2 heavy cages of rabbits across his shoulders, his face calm. Hoai Ca followed slowly behind, holding only a small basket of vegetables. Along the way, they talked, Ha's voice steady, both caring and earnest. "You need to take care of yourself, eat properly. Don't just think about the baby and forget your own health. If you're tired, rest, don't force yourself. Mother and I will always be here for you." His words, simple as they were, filled Hoai Ca with warmth. She no longer felt so adrift, the distance between her and Ha seemed to close, replaced by the bond of true kinship. At the bustling market, vendors' calls rose in the air, mingling with the aroma of breakfast. Without hesitation, Ha pushed through the crowd to help her set up the rabbit cages and neatly arrange the vegetables. Standing by her side, he chatted and invited customers, making sure she didn't have to strain her voice too much. From time to time, he even wiped the sweat from her forehead, a simple, tender gesture. Work that once felt burdensome now seemed lighter with his steady presence at her side. By midday, when the market quieted down, Ha carried the leftover baskets for her. He turned and asked, his voice soft with care. "Is there anything you're craving? Whatever you'd like, I'll take you to eat." Hoai Ca hesitated for a moment, then smiled shyly. I've been craving pho. It's been so long since I had some." Ha laughed heartily and nodded. "Then let's go. Today, we'll have pho to our heart's content." In a small roadside shop, the clinking of bowls and chopsticks echoed while the fragrant broth filled the air. Sitting across from each other, steaming bowls of pho were set before them. Ha picked up a slice of meat and placed it in her bowl, his voice warm and steady. "With me here, you don't need to worry. Whatever troubles you, share them. Don't carry everything alone. You're not by yourself." Hoai Ca stayed silent, lowering her head to sip the hot broth. Its rich sweetness spread through her body, easing her weariness. Inside her, an indescribable feeling surged, part gratitude, part emotion, part guilt. After the meal, Ha escorted her home. He carefully set the baskets down on her porch and reminded her once more. "Get some rest. Everything will be fine. Mother and I will always be here, we won't let you carry the weight alone anymore." Hoai Ca stood in the doorway, quietly watching his figure fade down the lane. The evening breeze lifted her hair, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Deep inside, she whispered to herself, though the road ahead was still full of hardships, she now knew she was no longer alone. That afternoon, after making sure Hoai Ca was safely home, Ha returned to his own house. Along the way, his mind kept circling back to everything he had just witnessed, the image of Hoai Ca bent over her baskets of vegetables, her frail figure but determined eyes, and the trembling words when she confessed her fear of becoming a burden. All of it haunted him deeply. When he stepped inside, he found his mother still sitting on the porch, her hands busy weaving a bamboo basket though her eyes seemed distant, as if waiting for news. Ha set the empty basket down, let out a heavy sigh, and sat beside her. After a long silence, he began to speak. "I saw Hoai Ca, mother. She keeps pushing herself, working without rest. She said she's afraid Hung will worry, so she decided to hide the pregnancy." It tore me up inside to hear her say that. Mrs. Ha froze. Her hands trembled, and a strip of bamboo slipped to the ground unnoticed. She looked at her son, eyes filled with concern. That poor girl, how could she be so foolish? A matter this important, and she chooses to hide it. Think about it, if Hung finds out, how heartbroken will he be knowing his wife had to endure everything alone? Ha lowered his head, his voice firm. "I thought the same. Hoai Ca only wants the best for Hung, but keeping secrets like this will only make things harder. He has the right to know the truth." The two sat in silence for a long while. The evening breeze rustled through the bamboo outside, as though urging them toward a decision. At last, Mrs. Ha slowly nodded, her gaze steady. "We must tell Hung. No matter what, he deserves to know he's going to be a father. I believe he'll be overjoyed, not angry with Hoai Ca. That girl has suffered enough, it's time she had a real shoulder to lean on." Ha clasped his mother's hand tightly, agreeing with her resolve. In his heart, a spark of hope flickered. Once Hung learned the truth, perhaps Hoai Ca's life would turn a new page, no longer weighed down by fear and solitude, but embraced in love and protection. At the unit, on a sweltering afternoon, the last rays of sunlight fell on the training ground like tiny flames. Dust rose from the field, the heat radiating from the earth made the air thick and stifling. Hung and his comrades patiently checked each piece of equipment, sweat streaming down his sunburned face. He was used to it, the life of a soldier was nothing but hardship, discipline, and responsibility. But today, his heart refused to stay calm. As he was scribbling notes, hurried footsteps approached. A young soldier from the duty room ran up, panting, a hastily folded piece of paper in hand. "There's a message from home for you." Just that one sentence was enough to make Hung lift his head, unease and anticipation rising within him. He opened the paper, the shaky handwriting glaring back at him. The moment his eyes scanned the lines, he froze. His hands trembled as he gripped the paper, eyes wide, breath caught in his chest. Only a few short words, yet enough to make his heart explode. Hoai Ca is pregnant. In that instant, all sound around him vanished. The shouts of training, the clash of metal, the wind sweeping across the sand, all blurred into nothingness. All he could hear was the pounding of his own blood in his ears. His whole body went numb, then suddenly, a smile spread across his lips. How many sleepless nights had he imagined this? Hoai Ca shyly whispering the news, or her eyes glistening as she laid her hand on her belly. Now, that dream was real. He longed to call her at once, to hear her trembling voice, to ask if she was tired, if she had been eating well. But reality struck. Hoai Ca didn't even have a phone. The joy bursting in his chest faltered, leaving behind a gnawing, fiery impatience. He quickly asked his comrades to contact Mrs. Ha and Ha, telling them to look after Hoai Ca, and sent a short message. Tell her to take care of her health, not to worry. I'll be home soon. But when the note was sent, his heart still felt heavy. How could a few simple lines capture all the love, the longing, the urgency burning inside him? Her image filled his mind again, her slender figure, her growing belly, still struggling alone with baskets of vegetables, the rabbit pens, and the cruel stares of others. The thought stabbed his chest, and his hands clenched so tightly the veins bulged. That night, while the unit slept, Hùng lay awake. He stepped outside, staring at the star-strewn sky. The vast heavens seemed to listen to his heart. In the dim starlight, his eyes burned with determination. I must go back. No matter what, I have to return, to Hoai Ca, and to our child. The next morning, he sought out his comrades one by one, volunteering to swap shifts. The heaviest, toughest duties, he took them all. Others dreaded them, but to Hùng, they were a chance to earn precious days of leave. Hour after hour, he hauled, scrubbed, operated, and inspected every piece of equipment. Sweat soaked his shirt, his calloused hands bled, but he never complained. For in his mind, only one picture remained, the humble home in the village, the green gourd trellis heavy with shade, Tony's laughter ringing out, and Hoai Ca's gentle eyes, now carrying within her the tiny life born of their love. That image was the fire that fueled him, turning exhaustion into strength. Even as his body ached, a smile lingered on his lips. Because he knew, with a little more patience, after enduring these long days, the greatest reward awaited him, to return to his home, to protect Hoai Ca with his own arms, and for the first time, to truly fulfill the duty of a husband and a father. Night fell on the training ground. Beneath the dark sky, Hùng stood in silence, gazing into the distance, toward that small house where he knew a woman was struggling day by day, and a tiny life was stirring gently in her womb. All of it felt like an invisible thread tugging at his heart, urging him with a force stronger than any command. At this moment, there was no room in Hung's heart for hesitation or fear. He had only one burning desire, to return home, to hold Hoai Ca's hand tightly, to press his ear against her belly and hear the fragile heartbeat of their child. Every hardship, every sacrifice in the unit, he was willing to endure, so long as it meant he could trade them for a few fleeting days with his family. Joy mingled with impatience, stretching each hour and minute into what felt like centuries. Whenever exhaustion threatened to overwhelm him, Hùng closed his eyes, letting the image of home steady him, the gourd trellis heavy with green, Tony's innocent laughter, and Hoai Ca's gentle eyes. Those visions became his endless strength, carrying him through every obstacle. Far away, Hoai Ca remained absorbed in her daily chores, unaware that the man she loved was racing against time, pouring every ounce of his strength into coming back to her. Across the distance, their hearts beat in unison, the rhythm of love, longing, and the hope of a shared future. And so, today's story closes with both ache and warmth. On one side, Hùng, the soldier aflame with determination to return to his family. On the other, Hoai Ca, the fragile yet steadfast woman, quietly nurturing happiness within her. What will it be like when the day of Hung's return finally comes? Will the moment he appears on her porch make Hoai Ca burst into tears of joy? And will the little life in her belly, the small yet boundless hope, become the bond that ties them together, opening a new journey for a home still weathering many storms? Stay tuned for the next episode to witness that sacred reunion and the path of love awaiting ahead. And don't forget to share your feelings in the comments below. Every blessing, every word of support from you is the very source of strength that keeps this story alive.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình hoàn thành hơi muộn video ở trên kênh này. Mọi người cũng đã thấy bây giờ thì mình vẫn đang còn edit video và chưa có xong. Mình hy vọng là với tất cả các nỗ lực làm video của mình, do hôm nay mình cũng bận một số công việc khác ấy, nên là mình cũng không có tập trung mình làm nó hoàn thành nhanh được, nên hôm nay cái giờ lên video của mình nó có hơi chậm trễ một tí. Bình thường thì mình sẽ lên vào lúc 19 giờ tối, tức là 7 giờ tối. Hôm nay do bận công việc nên mình lên hơi muộn một tí, mình lên vào lúc 7 giờ 30 tối. Mình hy vọng rằng mọi người sẽ vẫn ủng hộ cho video của mình dù nó lên hơi muộn. Và hãy xem hết video của mình cũng như là đón xem video của mình nhé mọi người, ở trong các tập sau nữa, để có thể biết thêm diễn biến về video của Ly Hoai Ca. Hẹn gặp lại mọi người trong những video tiếp theo. Bye bye.